This is a public service announcement to let you know that people are watching you. This is a driver that I spotted at a truck stop. I'm not going to say where. And as you can plainly see, I have blotted out his face for his privacy. However, I took pictures and video of this guy buying this case of beer. When I first walked into the truck stop after I fueled, I looked when he came from around the beer case, and I said, wait a minute, this guy looks familiar. I think he's parked next to me in the fuel aisle. And so I went back to look at the truck, and then I looked again, and sure enough, it was him. So I took this picture as well as a little short video clip, and I saw the name of the company on his truck. I called his company, and of course he was terminated. What really got me was the fact that he was extremely comfortable, not only buying beer, but a case of beer. And he was comfortable buying it at a truck stop in the daytime and just standing in line with it. You know, most people would have tried to hide it. They would have parked all the way to the back of the truck stop. They would have waited until nightfall. I mean, anything. No one would be this bold. However, he was, and that told me he was very comfortable and he had been doing this for a long time. Of course, I don't want him on the road with me. I don't want him on the road with any of my nieces and nephews. I don't have children, but I do have nieces and nephews that I love very much, relatives, etc., friends, and I don't want him on the road. Drivers like him give us a bad name. And I told his safety director. She said, well, where is he now? And I said, well, right now he's standing in the subway line. I guess he needed a sandwich to wash down that beer. She of course, pulled his truck up, saw that he was indeed there. The images matched that particular driver that was assigned to that truck. And of course, he was terminated. Now, I said all that to say this. People are watching. And we need to live our lives as if everything we do is being recorded, because it is. We also need to be given the opportunity to make a change. That's why I did not put his face on here. Unfortunately, we live in an era where we are not allowed to live down our mistakes. The internet makes it impossible for us to do that. Long time ago, when we made a mistake or we acted out of character, we could live that down, because everyone changes. This driver may change one day. I hope he does. I'm not going to put his face up there because I believe in allowing him to change. And also, for other drivers who are doing this, please stop, because this could be you. Follow me for more trucking tips, and be safe out there.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Trucker Richie Rich. Come to you, make a video. Saw something on the internet that kind of made me upset. Actually, I've seen a couple of things on the internet that made me upset. I'm deciding if I should make this like a two-part thing, or maybe like a one long video. You know, I encourage you guys, if you listen to me, just go ahead and turn on the YouTube and set the phone down and listen to me as you're driving. That's what I usually do when I listen to other truckers on YouTube, just to, you know, listen to their stories and stuff. But I saw two things that last couple of days that kind of pissed me off. One is about that young guy who got sentenced to 110 years in prison out there in Colorado. I wasn't going to make a video about it, but man, that really bothered me. Yeah, accidents happen out here all the time, and I think that his company should have been held more liable than he, because he was an inexperienced driver. And a lot of times they throw people out here on the road that are inexperienced and not properly trained. I can remember countless companies that I knew of that once you got your CDL on Friday, by the next Friday you were out on your road solo. And they didn't do any mountain driving, night driving. They didn't even tell you how to even deal with the weight distribution in the trailers. And I have a feeling that guy kind of got played into that. And unfortunately, he is sentenced to 110 years to run, consecutively too. That's insane. Colorado is like Florida to me. It's like a black hole as far as like getting loads out of there. So will I be going to California? I mean, to Colorado? I don't know. I'm not. I mean, I'm not protesting. I wish truckers were all united. We used to be united back in the 70s and 80s with the Teamsters. You know, at one point the Teamsters were considered one of the most powerful unions in the country. You know, not because they were led by Jimmy Hoffa and backed by the muscle of the mafia, but they were able to get things done. But unfortunately, and you know what sucks about this whole situation with that young man? I didn't see ODA. I didn't see any FMSA. I didn't see any trucking organizations out there speaking on his behalf and saying they need to hold the company liable. You know, I didn't see anything, and nobody said nothing. All the organizations and all the unions we have in this country, nobody stood up and said, listen, you know, this young man was ill properly trained and his company should be held liable. Okay? I mean, yeah, he committed a gross act. I'm not saying he should got off scot free, right? But what I'm saying is 110 years is excessive and it's cruel and unusual. I mean, I am a guy for law enforcement. I am. I used to be a police officer, and I am for enforcing the law. But I think what happened to him, he was railroaded. Okay, and I hope that in the years coming or months coming, somebody really does something to change that. I'm not saying he didn't deserve any prison time, but 110 years at 25. I remember when I was 25, and I made some mistakes, and you know, I thought at 25 was a grown man, but I really wasn't. You know, I was still a young man, becoming a grown man, and I made some mistakes, and luckily I didn't get 110 years in prison for them. Okay. So anyway, that's one thing I want to talk about. But the next thing I want to talk about, what really pissed me off, that I saw on TikTok. I'm gonna stitch these two videos onto this video here. Um, a lady called the cops on a guy at a truck stop when she saw him buying a case of beer. Okay, she called actually his company, I should say, and his company terminated him on the spot. From what I heard, I don't know if that's true or not. But how do you feel about that? You know, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have mixed feelings about that. At first, when I first started trucking, I was very black and white. You know, I was 35 miles an hour, you're 35. When it says don't cross the line, don't cross the line. I mean, I was very black and white because I carried some of those attributes from being a police officer into this business. Then I realized that these trucking companies have you out here working 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, for months at a time. Okay? And I realized that a lot of these trucks are actually people's homes. You know? I'll never forget that I trained a student, and I had a student at Stevens. And he was super motivated to get done with his training. And I was wondering, like, why he's so motivated. I mean, if I told him to drive 5 hours, he would drive 10. I mean, he was super, super motivated. And finally, he broke down. He's like, listen, Rich, me and my wife are being evicted, and I need to get this training done because I need to live in the truck with my wife. He says, Rich, look, whatever needs done, I'll do it. He was one of my best students I ever had. When I tell you he drove his clock from 11 hours straight down to 1 minute, he did it every day. He was motivated to get finished with training. And I finished his training relatively quickly. I think I finished him in like 3 weeks. You know, I mean, I trained him properly, but I finished him in 3 weeks. And he got back to the yard, and he flew his wife in from wherever she was from to the yard, put her in the hotel, and he got his truck, and he put her right in the truck, and they went living in the truck. You know, this is people's homes. People live in a truck full time. And you don't know, you know, the video I'm about to stitch, you'll see what I'm talking about. You don't know if that particular trucker was just buying a case of beer to carry to the hotel or buying a case of beer to go, you know, to go somewhere else. So he just, you know, his vehicle is the truck. And you got some Karens out here, and not Karens, but just truckers who are just, they want to see stuff bad happen to you. They do. You know, for a while when I worked at Stevens, they had a culture of paying drivers to tell on people. I never forget, I had a situation where I put a student off the truck, and the driver was too busy recording me so he can tell Stevens so he can get some cash money. Okay? The driver will sell you out for $20. You know, the driver culture out here is pretty crappy. You know, this is why, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't really socialize a lot with a lot of truckers out here. You know, I used to be one when I first started. I used to always stay inside the truck stop. I was infamous for going to the TA and going into the dining room and the TV lounge, just striking conversations up because I was fascinated with being a trucker. But I stopped doing that real quick when I learned that truckers sometimes have alternative motives. They love to call companies and file false complaints and do whatever they could to get some money, or to get some entertainment out of it. So I really stopped socializing. Really this YouTube thing is as far as I'm going to go with it. As far as, and I talk to people that are anonymous. But anyway, this guy, he was fired. She called the safety director, and she showed him the video, and she got him fired. And I think that was wrong. Unless he was drinking and driving, I mean, you don't know the situation. You know what I mean? You don't know what he's doing. And now, if you looked in his truck and you saw beer cans and you saw alcohol in him, different story. But for all I know, he could be dropping his trailer at one location and going to the hotel and spending a 3 days there, or a week. I mean, look at it. It's Christmas time. I'm going home, and I'm not coming back out until after New Year's. So I'll be home for a good 2 weeks. You don't know if that guy was going to stay in the hotel for 2 weeks. Now he's fired, and he has that on his record too. Okay, this woman, as far as I'm concerned, is a piece of shit. Okay, and there's a lot of truckers like that. So that's the second part of this video why I wanted to clear it in. I want some of you guys' opinion, how you feel about it. I mean, some guys will agree with me, and some guys will disagree with me. Certain companies. I think when I worked for Snyder, right? They had a policy, and they teached it in their class, was make sure you're sober. You're not allowed to drink 8 hours before you start driving. They want to make sure you had a 10-hour break. They said that they had to come up with a policy because they couldn't really stop it because so many people. Now, other companies, I don't know, they operate totally different. Okay, but I have seen truckers do things out here to get people fired on a daily basis, and I think it's just poor. It's just no excuse for that. You're a parasite if you do that. Okay, especially if you do it for money. So anyway, guys, it just made me upset seeing that. Trucking is hard. I mean, you're away from family every day. You're driving every day, 11 hours a day. This load I'm on right now, I had to do 600 miles a day on this load. That's unusual for me. I'm more of a 300 to 400 mile driver, but this load was so tight that I just had to run it. And I'm finding myself in a situation where I got to decide if I'm going to park my truck at the drop yard and catch a plane home, because I got to make it home for Christmas. You know what I mean? So trucking is a lot of sacrificing and a lot of inconvenience. It's not an easy job. So anyway, guys, those are two things I wanted to talk about. That young man out there in Colorado, I'm sorry for him and his family. I mean, listen, he didn't have no drugs in the system. He wasn't running illegal. He just panicked. And what happened was, once you take the truck out of gear on a manual and going down a mountain, you can't get it back in for the life of you. You can't. And had him been properly trained by his company, or even the CDL school, he would have known that. But like I said, you can get a license on Friday and be in the truck by next Friday, driving by yourself at certain companies. So I might touch more on that later and name some of those companies. They're still out here operating. The companies don't care. That's why I'm a firm believer is you have to make trucking work for you, even every load work for you. And don't let them force you to do anything you don't want to do. You got to be firm on it. You got to be disrespectful, but you got to be firm. Because these trucking companies will put you in a situation, and then when you're in that situation, they will walk away with their hands clean and leave you holding the bag. So anyway, guys, like, subscribe, and comment how you feel. And I'm going to drop another video probably tonight or tomorrow, and we're going to talk some more. Until next time, you guys take it easy. Peace.